Hello friends, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this episode of Polity This week, we will be looking through the political developments which has happened in India and that can be important for our examination. So let's start our discussion. Today we'll be discussing about 3 to 4 topics over here which is given on the screen: blood money and the plea bargaining. First we will be talking about the blood money and the plea bargaining. Now what is blood money? This is some kind of compensation which is there, and recently in Yemen there was this case wherein a nurse is killing her partner, and because of which this concept of blood money has been in news. We'll be seeing that how it is related to Islamic laws and all, and then we'll be seeing that what is the concept or the related concept which is there in Indian law. Okay, so we'll be talking about the plea bargaining over here. Okay, then moving further, that is martial law in India. Recently, you know that you must have heard that because of the imposition of martial law in South Korea, the president has been removed over there, impeached, I would say. And then there was this chaos which has been going on in that particular country. And considering that martial law has been in the news, okay, so it is imperative for us to know that what are the legal provisions which are there with respect to martial law in India and the Indian constitution. Okay, so we'll be talking about that. Then coming to the next one, demand for the frontier Nagaland territory. So this has been an age-old issue over here. There was this long pending demand which was there with respect to the frontier Nagaland territory, and recently Home Ministry has responded to that. So with respect to that, we'll be talking about this particular issue as well. Coming to the next one, donation through the electoral trust. You know that we had a scheme that is called as the electoral bond scheme, but Supreme Court has said that that particular scheme is unconstitutional because of the clause of anonymity which is there. Okay, and they have applied the test of proportionality which we have already discussed in the previous lectures. So if you have not watched that, you can go and watch that. Okay, so now we are back to the old scheme, that is your electoral trust, or the old process of the you can say donations in the political parties. So that is your electoral trust. So we'll be talking about that. Okay, now before moving further, I would like to tell you that on the occasion of Republic Day, Drishti IAS is offering you best prices over here, that you are getting all online pen drive courses and the test series on 40% less price, and the books and the DLP will be available at 25% less prices. To avail this discount, you can download the Drishti Learning app now, or you can call on this number which is given on the screen, that is 87501 87501. Okay, now let's move further and start with the discussion over here. Blood money and plea bargaining. So herein we will be talking about blood money and plea bargaining. Without wasting any time, I have already told you the context. So let's see what is blood money. So blood money refers to the money paid as compensation for unintentional murder. Okay, now culpable homicide, or when the victim's families forego the retribution. Okay, retribution is that when you are talking about a particular kind of justice. There is reformative justice, that is, and there is this retributive justice. So herein family is saying that we need compensation. Okay, or the stage where they are left, so they need some kind of compensation. So here you can see, whenever there is a unintentional murder or the culpable homicide, okay, so in that case you can ask for the compensation, or the government can I mean the state or the judiciary can give you the compensation on the basis of the you can say the whatever accused has been doing over here. So considering that, what they will do is that the accused will be accused, or you can say the culprit will be made to pay a compensation to the families of the victim or the victim itself. Okay, so that is there, that is the concept of blood money which is there. Even after the reconciliation, the state retains the right to impose a penalty. Okay, now here reconciliation has happened, that they will be giving the compensation, but still that is between the party, that is between the victim and the accused. But since the crime is against the state, whenever we are talking about the murder or any kind of crime, IPC, when we are talking about the Indian Penal Code, and now we are talking about the reform laws. So here you will be seeing that whenever we talk about a crime which is happening, so crime is not against a particular person, that is against a state. So if let's say there is a person A, he has committed a murder of person B. Okay, now the case will be state versus person A, Mr. A. Why? Because this is a crime against state. Okay, so now what is happening over here is that the compensation has been paid to the victim, but again state can take action over here as well. Okay, now but in such cases what happens is that they will be asking for lesser punishment over here. So that is some kind of conciliation which has happened over here. Now blood money or the diya finds footing in the Islamic Sharia law. This term diya is basically for the used in the Sharia law, and followed in the countries that incorporate these laws in their legislation. If there is a country which is using the personal laws in their, you can say, legal processes, in these countries there is the concept of blood money or diya. Okay, so if there is a murder or the culpable homicide, in that case you can, take compensation as well. Under the rule diya, a selected quantity of valuable asset or the primarily monetary has to be paid by the culprit to the victim or the victim's family if the latter was dead. Okay, so basically what they are saying is that if there is a crime, okay, and now there is the concept of diya, so what will happen is that the accused or the culprit will be paying to the victim or the victim's family, and then there will be some kind of reconciliation which has happened, but still the state can go for some other kind of punishment. Okay, coming to the next one, the custom is practiced predominantly in cases involving the unintentional murders and the culpable homicide. The end goal is not to put a price tag on the human life. Okay, so basically, let's say person A has killed Mr. B, and let's say the wife of Mr. B, that is Miss C, she has said that I would need 1 crore as compensation. Okay, so that is not the price of Mr. B's life. That is basically a compensation which is given to the victim so that they can live better life. Okay, because in the absence of the provider, they can live a life which is not of hardship. So that is there to alleviate the plight and the suffering of the affected family and their potential loss of income. Okay, however, it is to be noted that even if the concerned parties reconcile to the blood money, the community and the state will retain right to impose a deterrent punishment, including the penalties, which we have already seen. Now, India's position, if we talk about, so specifically we do not have this concept of blood money. Okay, so it is not recognized formally over here, but we have a concept of the legal system that is called as a plea bargaining. Okay, plea bargaining means that here in the accused and the prosecution, they will be having some kind of you can say settlement, which will be saying that if the accused is accepting the guilt, okay, so in that case what will happen is that the prosecution will go for the lesser punishment. Prosecution will ask for the lesser punishment. So that is the kind of arrangement which can be there, but that is not in every case. That is in the simpler cases. Okay, so here you can see the legal system offers a plea bargaining as negotiation tool, but it is not available for the crime against the woman, children aged below 14, heinous crimes and the murder or the rape, etc. It is not available for that. It outlines a procedure where accused plead guilty in exchange of a concession from the prosecutor, potentially including the victim compensation as well. So in the plea bargaining, there are chances that there might be a victim compensation as well, but formally we do not have the concept of blood money. Okay, coming to the next one, it was introduced through the Criminal Laws Amendment Act 2005 to the Criminal Procedure Code CRPC. It was introduced, now it is BNSS, you know that. Then it can be taken up only for the offences that are penalized with imprisonment of the less than 7 years. Any offence which is having more than 7 years as the punishment, for that there is no concept of plea bargaining. Okay, again I'm saying if there is a crime which is more than 7 years of punishment is there for which, in that case there is no concept of plea bargaining. Plea bargaining will be a tool only if the punishment of the crime in the statute is less than 7 years. Okay, so that is there. When we talk about the ancient India, so Kautilya's Arthashastra and the Manusmriti discuss fines and the reparation as part of the legal remedies for the offences. Okay, so that is something which has been mentioned in the Arthashastra and the you can say Manusmriti as well. So this is about your plea bargaining and the blood money. And in India there is no concept of blood money. We have plea bargaining, that is for the crimes which are having punishment that is less than 7 years. Okay, so that is about blood money and plea bargaining. Now, martial law in India, I told you the context that in South Korea the martial law is in news. So considering that, we are discussing this. Okay, now what is martial law? First we will be seeing that what is martial law or the military rule. So it refers to a situation where the civil administration is run by the military authorities. So all the law and order situation or the civil administration will be run by the military, and the administration over there will not be doing any job. Now ordinary law will also not be working over there. Military law will be there. Okay, and there is some kind of, you can say, immunity which is also provided to the person who is working under the martial law. If there is some kind of action which has been taken by the military, that will also be justified, and parliament has the power to do so. Okay, so that is there. Martial law military rule refers to a situation where a civil administration is run by military authorities according to their own rules and regulations. Here the normal or the ordinary laws and the rules will not be applicable over here. These are their own rules and regulations which are framed outside the ordinary law. Okay, it thus implies the suspension of the ordinary law. Obviously, ordinary law will not be working over there. The law is enforced when the government faces widespread civil unrest, natural disasters, or the threat of invasion. If there is some kind of exigency or the emergency which is there, because of which the government thinks that it is necessary to impose the military law in order to maintain the law and order, or if there is a natural disaster, we have to take control of that particular area. In that case, you can go for the martial law. The military authorities take control of the normal civil functions as well as the security of the state when the martial law is imposed. So all control will be there with the, you can say, military over here. It also involves the restrictions on the freedom. Curfews will be there, military involvement in the law enforcement and the public order, which we have already seen. Okay, now martial law in India. So that is the normal definition of martial law which we have seen. Now when we are talking about the India, so what is the provision, where provisions are given? So there is this article 34. Article 34 provides for the restriction on the fundamental rights while the martial law is enforced in any area within the territory of India. Now Article 34 says that the fundamental right will be restricted. Okay, but where is that the martial law is defined in the constitution? So martial law is not defined in the constitution anywhere. Okay, so here you can see the expression martial law is not being defined in the constitution anywhere. Okay, now this is a concept which has been borrowed from the English common law. Okay, you will be seeing that during the time of our independence struggle, etc. So ordinary law has been seized various times. So this is the concept which has been borrowed from the English common law. Okay, and why is that we have borrowed this concept? Because obviously it has hurt us in the past while we were struggling for the freedom. So when India became independent, we were a nascent state. Okay, so we are being, battling through the horrors of the partitions, etc. And there was this unification job which is also there. So considering that it was a nascent state, to hold it together, this concept was introduced. Okay, now coming to the next one, the declaration of the martial law under Article 34 is different from the declaration of the national emergencies which is given under Article 352. So martial law and the national emergency is not same, because when we are talking about the national emergency, the ordinary law will be there. Okay, but when we talk about the martial law, ordinary law will not work over there. There will be a different martial law which will be there. Okay, the military rule will be there, their own rules and regulation will be there. There is also no specific provisions in the constitution that authorize the executive to declare the martial law. So there is no concept wherein in the constitution they are saying that in this situation you can go for the martial law, but they have mentioned in the fundamental right, Article 34, that in the case there is the martial law, there will be no fundamental right. So that means that government can do that. Okay, the martial law is imposed under the extraordinary circumstances like war, invasion, insurrection, rebellion, riot, or any violent resistance to the law. Okay, so in that case they can go for the martial law. Okay, now indemnity for the action taken during the martial law. Whenever there is a martial law, so parliament will make sure that the officers which are working over there, they will have some kind of indemnity. Okay, so Article 34 empowers the parliament to indemnify any government servant or any person for any act done by him in the connection with the maintenance or the restoration of the order in any area where martial law is there. So basically, if there is a government servant or the person which is there, which is making sure that the law and order is coming back to the normalcy in that particular area during the martial law, that person will be indemnified. Okay, so that is there. So some kind of immunity which has been provided by the you can say law over here. The parliament can also validate any sentence passed, punishment inflicted, for or forfeiture order or other act done during the martial law in whenever there is the martial law in a particular area. The act of indemnity made by the parliament cannot be challenged in any court or any ground of the contravention of any fundamental rights. On the ground that the fundamental right has been violated, you cannot go to the court, because Article 34 says in the time of the martial law there will not be any fundamental rights. So basically, if there is a martial law, so fundamental rights are not there. Even you cannot go to the court saying that my fundamental rights are being taken away during the martial law. Okay, so that is about the martial law in India. We have talked about the provisions over here. We have talked about the general meaning. We have seen that in the constitution it is not being defined anywhere. Okay, so these are some of the things with respect to the martial law. Now coming to the next one, that is demand for the frontier Nagaland territory. Okay, so there is this organization which is there. Okay, that is ENPO. They have been asking for the frontier Nagaland territory. Okay, we'll be talking about the map wherein I'll be telling that what is this particular territory. Okay, so let's talk about this. Ministry of Home Affairs has agreed to demand by Eastern Nagaland People's Organization. Eastern Nagaland People's Organization. So if you talk about Nagaland, this is the map of Nagaland, and this is your Eastern Nagaland. There are, you can say, 7 to 8 districts which are there over here, and that will be considered as the Eastern Nagaland, or you can say the Frontier Nagaland territories. Okay, for the autonomy in the proposed Frontier Nagaland territory. Okay, so what is this Frontier Nagaland territory? FNT is a proposed administrative region demanded by ENPO to address the developmental imbalance in 6 eastern districts of Nagaland. Okay, 6 districts which are there. So here Longlang, okay, Wensang, Noklak, Mon, and Shamator and Kifere. So these are there. These are the 6 districts which has been considered as basically your Frontier Nagaland territory. Okay, so Kifere, Longlang, Mon, Noklak, Shamator or Wensang. Okay, so these are the districts which is there. It aims to grant executive, legislative and the financial autonomy to these districts, enabling better governance and the focused resource allocation to bridge the developmental deficit. So basically they are saying that in these areas and the other part of the Nagaland, there is a developmental disparity, which is also the case in the Manipur as well. Okay, so they are saying that they demand more autonomy over here, and government is considering that this time. Okay, so that is your Frontier Nagaland territory. Now what is the significance of this? So here these districts which are home to 7 Naga tribes, that is Konyak, you can say the pronunciation can be different because these are little bit difficult to pronounce in the local language. Okay, so Konyak, Chang, Sangtam, Tikhir, Hom, these are some of the tribes which are living over there. There are total 7 tribes which are living in that particular area. These, you can say, the 7 famous tribes which are living in this particular area, and for them this issue of developmental disparity is there. So this is accounting for 30% of the Nagaland's population and 20 of the 60 legislative assembly seats. Okay, so that is why, that is the significance of this particular area, that is F, T, F and T. Okay, so that is there. Now if we talk about the background, so demand for the separate state of Eastern Nagaland began in 2010. Demand for the separate state has begun in 2010, led by ENPO, citing a significant developmental deficit in the region. Okay, now they have come up to this autonomy related part. After independence in 1947, the Naga territory remained part of Assam. It was recognized as a state on the 1st December 1963 under the State of Nagaland Act 1962. This is the you can say origin of the state of Nagaland. And when we talk about this particular demand, that began in 2010, and now we are giving them a better autonomy over here. Okay, so this is about the issue with respect to the Frontier Nagaland territory, and government is talking about this right now. Okay, now moving to the next one, that is donation through electoral trust. Okay, now see, I already told you that we had the electoral bond scheme, and there was the issue of anonymity, that who has given which party how much money, that was anonymous, and the court said that this is, you can say, against the right to information or right to make the right decision by the voters. So considering that, there is this anonymity clause, and this is not passing the test of proportionality, and that is why this particular scheme is unconstitutional, and that should be scrapped off. So they did scrapped it off. After that, now political donations are there. A party which is working, political party is working, they need to have money for the working, so it will be coming by the donations. So what is the route they will take? So electoral trust, this was earlier there. Okay, so electoral trust introduced in 2013 are non-profit entities established to collect funds from the donors and distribute them to the political party. What will happen is that there will be a trust, that is your electoral trust. Okay, now these are the donors A, B, C. There is a Mr. A. Okay, there is this company X, and then let's say there is an you can say foreign contribution which is also there. So these 3 are the ways through which a money can enter into a electoral trust. Now whenever this money is going, so electoral trust is knowing that these are the 3 persons, and they are telling that I have to give money to the party X or party Z. Okay, so now this electoral trust will be taking all this money, and then they will be giving to whatever party they wished for. Okay, so the trust is only there to make sure that there is a pool of money which, and now they will be distributing it to the political parties. Okay, so that is there. Section 17CA of the Income Tax Act 1961 permits donation to the electoral trust. Okay, now these donation can be from the Indian citizens, companies registration in India, firms, Hindu undivided families, that is HUF, or association of the person residing in India. Okay, so these are some of the things from which you will be taking donations. Okay, electoral trust must donate at least 95% of the funds they received in a financial year to eligible political parties that are registered under the Representation of the People Act 1951. So basically what is happening is here is that this electoral trust, okay, so whatever money they have received, okay, the 95% of which they have to give it to the political parties in the same financial year. Okay, so that is their electoral trust are required to apply for the renewal every three financial year they have to go for the renewal. So basically these are registered under the particular act. Okay, so that is basically about your electoral trust. Here, if we differentiate between electoral bond and the electoral trust, you will be seeing that first, when we talk about the electoral bond, it is primarily regulated by the RBI, SBI and the Election Commission. Election Commission, you know that will be the body which will be monitoring the election process. So since it is a election funding, so that is why Election Commission will be there. Then RBI is the body which issued the, you can say, electoral bond, and SBI is the body which distributed the electoral bonds. So this is there. Now coming to the regulation with respect to the electoral trust over here, so under the Companies Act they are registered and monitored. Okay, so that is there, and it will also be monitored by the Election Commission of India and the Income Tax Department, because herein we have seen that the section 16CA of the Income Tax Act is allowing these entities to donate the money. Okay, now what is the purpose? Purpose is same, to streamline the funding over here. So here you can see aim to streamline donations while maintaining the donor anonymity. Now the thing is, first factor was anonymity over here. Now when we are talking about the electoral trust, so aggregating the donations and ensuring transparency. So that is the one difference which is there, and big difference is there. Coming to the tax benefits, donor can avail deductions under the section 80 GGC which is there in the Income Tax Act, and donor receive tax deduction for the donation through the trust. Okay, coming to the, so both of the cases you are getting the deductions over here. Then operational mechanism, if we are talking about, so donations are made directly to the political party via bond. There will be electoral bond. In that bond, the name of the party will be there. Now whatever party is holding that particular bond, they can encash it in the 15 days. Okay, so that is there in the electoral bond. And when we are talking about the trust, so trust collects the funds and distribute them to the political parties. So that is another thing. Coming to the next one, donor disclosure. So donors identity remain undisclosed, which we have already seen here. Donors identity are publicly disclosed because obviously the trust knows that who is the donor. Then transparency, if we talk about, so in the electoral bond there was no transparency. When we talk about the electoral trust, there is a transparency which is there. Okay, so that is about the difference between the electoral bond and the electoral trust. Okay, now there is a quiz. There are two questions which you have to attempt and answer to me. Which article of the Indian Constitution provides for the imposition of martial law? Article 31, Article 34, 352, 356 or 360. So you can attempt this question and answer to me in the comment box. The second question is, what is blood money? Monetary compensation paid by the accused to the government, compensation paid by accused to the victim's family in case of murder, fine imposed on the accused by the court, and none of the above. So you have to attempt the question and choose the most appropriate answer over here. Then you can give the answer answer to me in the comment box. Okay, so with that I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you, and please subscribe the channel.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.